Ready?
Yep.
Okay, here's a summary, last overview steps of the HERS test. Step 1 is you're going to set the home to operating procedures for the windows. So you will run the whole house fan. If there's 2, you would run them both on highest speed. And then you're going to adjust the windows with a reference tube on the manometer outside and make sure it's outside the path of the airflow. You want to get the home to about -10 to -15. Anywhere in that area is fine. And then you're going to set the windows there and leave it there for the duration of the HERS test. Step 2 would be to set up the base and the hood and connect the apparatus to the whole house fan grill. And then you run the whole house fan again. And while it's running simultaneously with the blower door, you're going to look at the rheostat and you're going to turn it up and you're going to try to zero out the hood apparatus. Once it is close to 0, run a 10-second average and get it to about 0.1 to -0.1 inside the hood, and your blower door measurement device is going to be reading the airflow, and that is your recorded measured airflow. Then you are going to go outside and with and without the whole house fan, you're going to look at the smart meter, measure the watts of the home without the whole house fan, then turn the whole house fan on and measure the smart meter watts, subtract the delta is going to determine what your watt draw is on the whole house fan. For computations of the HERS test, you're going to take the measured airflow, meaning what you measured here with this apparatus. If it's 5,000 CFM, you multiply that by the efficacy that was modeled on Title 24, because that is your target efficacy. So if that's 0.1, you take 0.1, multiply it times the 5,000 CFM that you measured. That gives you 500 watts, which is a tenth of the original CFM measured. So your target wattage is 500. If the wattage you measured on the smart meter is less than 500, then you pass both the wattage and the CFM. Any questions for the procedures of the HERS test? Usually, like in a single fan like that, it would be probably this complete window all the way up and half of that one. On my house, it's got 2. I'm doing 9,600 CFM. I have a full-on, it's a 4050 window, fully open, and then a 2030 half open. So about, I can't imagine more than 2 windows. You'll have one fully open and one medium-sized window about half open. Typically, you want to do one, if it is a windy day. This is a barometric pressure sensitive test since you originally set the house with the windows with a reference to the outside. So if I reference right now and the trees are not moving, get this set up and all of a sudden I got a bunch of massive wind, I've got different pressure in the house. Mm-hmm. I personally, if that ends up to be a fail, I would go back and reset the windows while that wind is moving, or close those windows and use a window that is not facing the wind. Because if there is wind blowing right into that window, while you're performing the CFM measurement and the wind was not present when you set the windows, you're going to have a different reading.
Or
Okay?
it blows by there too. It's just like a blower door test.
Yeah.
When it's highly windy on a blower door test, it's sometimes you have to come. I've had to come back to houses. That was
You
rare.
can use the
but
can. You can use the can feature. Put it in the can.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. To be out of the wind for your reference.
absolutely.
That
Same
would definitely
concept
work.
with taking your outside reference. You might want to make sure that the tube isn't having wind blow over, so you might have to use a bottle or a can. Set it somewhere where it's just not going to have wind on it.
So, will it confuse you guys if I go through a little bit of troubleshooting, like what could possibly make it fail, and what you guys could do as a rater if you're interested? I don't know. I know you guys aren't paid to diagnose, but if you want to diagnose, I can train you. It's about 5 minutes.
Oh.
Okay.
That's my next question.
All right. First thing that can cause failure in our fans that are ducted, I don't know about other measurements. Go peek in the attic. We have a 90-degree gentle bend on our duct. If that is smashed or has 2 90s or that duct is crushed, it's going to fail. We've put a lot of padding in the numbers that we've given Dave in the Title 24 team. Just so you're aware, our numbers are padded about 300 to 600 CFM. So we should pass with flying colors. I tested my house and both my fans were 200 to 300 CFM off each. So combined, I was 600 CFM passing, okay? It takes a lot. My ducts are smashed, my ducts are improperly installed, and it's still passed.
Yeah, our
So
numbers that we recorded are very padded.
So we've tried to really do that. So the number one thing that could be wrong would be improper installation, and that includes the wrong fans installed. If you're seeing thousands of CFM, if you test 2 fans and you're supposed to get 6,000, and you're only getting 3,000, they could have put the wrong fans in, or they smashed the duct and it's improperly installed, or you're running it at the wrong speed. If they wired it as a 2-speed and it's really a 3-speed fan, you won't see high. So call me, make sure Dave gets my cell phone number, or Rick. We can call and you can tell us the size of the grill, and we'll tell you how fast that fan is supposed to be running, okay? For new construction Hearst tests, we're only doing one line of fans, which is our stealth fans. They should always be black in the attic. So another thing that could cause a failure is if
Black
somebody,
in the attic.
our fan
The fan
has,
housing.
the fan housing, we have a black one that's stealth. Those are the only ones that should be getting Hearst tested.
Those are the
because
ones
we-
you'll find watt failures on. The CFM should be roughly the same. They should still pass CFMs within a little bit. They do have different numbers, but if it's a red fan and you're having an efficacy problem, that is the reason.
Yeah, you peek in the attic, if the fan hanging with our little, it's a 6-foot duct, I don't know if you're familiar with our product, but it's a grill with a 6 or 9-foot duct, and the fan is hanging there in the attic. That fan has a metal housing on it. If that's red and you're doing a Hearst test on it, that they installed the wrong fan, okay? The other things that can cause failure, tears in the hood. You won't be able to zero it out properly, so you'll have to ramp up the rheostat in order to zero out, and you're gonna get a false pass, and you'll get a higher CFM in the hood. Inspect your hood, in both the sleeve, and inspect the seal up there. Any leaks in this, between this and the sheetrock lid, if there's a leak there, you have to drive more CFM with this, and you're gonna get a false high CFM reading, excessively high CFM.
Can we digress real quick, Andy? When you're setting the windows, one thing I would check immediately is to look underneath the fan. All fans at least have 2 damper doors that are open whenever the fan turns on, and those are opened up by pressure. If you do not see both of them fully upright, something is not running right on that fan. It's not running at full speed. They should be upright. Now, one could be stuck, or it could be on a low speed and it wasn't wired correctly. So that would be something as a rater that I would it's easy to look at when you first get into the house and turn it on before, because once you have this set up, in order to look at that again, you're going to have to remove this and then look at it.
That's a good point, is when you're setting the windows, run the whole house fan on high. On our fans, for us as the manufacturer, all 4 of the dampers should be up. They shouldn't be flopping. You shouldn't have 2 up and 2 flopping. That's medium speed or low speed. So all 4 doors should be up, nice and solid. That means that the fan is running on
Those
high.
ECMs, the black.
Yes, our black motors are ECMs.
And I'll send Dave, we have a cheat sheet on our 3 and 4 speed fans that I'll send to Dave and he can distribute to everybody. This shows you how to use the switches. Unfortunately, they can be confusing because
Yes.
there's 2 there's a timer and then there's 2 rockers. On all of our fan setups, if you're not familiar with using our fans, the timer is what introduces power. That is your on and off, and that's what you set for your duration. There is a hold mode, and then there is a 1 hour. I don't know was it one?
What we'll do is we'll send
Yeah.
you guys a switch sheet, and I would advise that you take a picture of that PDF with your phone and just keep it handy on your phone, because we have 3 different switches for 2-speed, 3-speed, and 4-speed, and they all work different. One is high-low off, one is high-medium off, one is double rocker that sets the low-medium. It's confusing and it's silly. We hate them as manufacturer representatives. We know that it's an issue and it's getting replaced with the wireless systems. So just keep a picture and you'll go, okay, I gotta go boom, boom, and it's on high. It makes it super simple.
Yeah.
That way you're not wasting time going, how do these quite cool switches work? Because we have had people, especially in Northern California, wire them wrong, and these double rockers do not match the picture that I'm going to show you, but you'll at least know that, okay, I can try different things, and when that thing is loud, if that's probably on high and all the 4 doors are up, now you guys will know it's running on high, okay? The last thing that you can do to diagnose and troubleshoot to help the superintendents out, if you ask, do you know why it's failing? So we went through, the duct is too smashed, see if they can give that more room. It's a red fan, they probably installed the wrong model number. The last thing that you could do is, that would cause a test, is that we have a code requirement for whole house fans, and the specifications that we gave Dave's Title 2014 says that each fan needs this amount of venting. That venting is based on a lab defined feature, and it must be installed in order for these to reach. Again, we padded about 300 to 600 CFM. So if they forgot an O'Hagan or 2 O'Hagan, actually they can forget about up to 5 O'Hagans, it will still pass our numbers, but that is not code legal and that's not legitimate, but we're not in charge of you guys inspecting the HERS ventilation. That's between the building inspector and the Title 24 planning department. Our concern is that this is going to pass. So we will most likely pass, even if they have inadequate ventilation. But in the event, that's the first thing that I would do, is if the model number is correct and the duct is not smashed, the way to do the test, we actually developed a secondary diagnostic home test on how to test why the whole house fan is failing. And what you do is you run the whole house fan alone with this contraption off, and you go to the attic access and you throw an input reference tube with the manometer up there, and you reference it into the home with the same house running at 10 static pressure. It averages approximately 20 to 30 pascals when the home is at an exact code venting of 1 in 750 for the whole house fan CFM. We've pinned it down that no matter what size the attic is, no matter what size the fan is, the attic pressure in the home is averaging 25 to 35 pascals. So I would toss that manometer tube, reference tube up there, run the whole house fan, leaving the windows at its at, and we get 10 pressure in the house. It should be about between 25 and 35 in the attic. If it's too high in there, if it's saying 50 pascals up there, they need to add some O'Hagan's, and that they don't have enough roof venting. Somebody forgot to add the venting and didn't follow the architectural roof plans that we said this fan needs X amount of venting, okay? Any questions on diagnosing? Anything I missed on?
No, that was pretty much.
So you don't use whole house fans on a non-vented attic then?
Correct.
I
Well,
was
Well, we just developed,
yes and no.
we developed a new product that we're going to introduce to Dave's Title 2014 for Meritage and some other builders that use sealed attics. But all the people that have switched to sealed attics have already contacted us. He's going to hear from Colton from Woodside Homes. He was going to sealed attics, but they're concerned with mold, and he's like, we want to go with high performance attics. Can we add the whole house fan and add vents back? We'll pay for the extra O'Hagan's. I don't want to get sued for mold. And I said, we'll fix that issue. So Woodside's going to be contacting you guys.
Woodside's Valley or?
Troy,
Needs a more whole house fan test.
do you work with Troy?
But yeah,
Right.
some things that Andy was touching on.
Woodside, Roosevelt?
A harsh 90, a crushed duct, yeah, but a harsh 90 is not necessarily going to be the cause of it.
Oh, is that for
One easy thing, a first troubleshooting step might be is to take that attic pressure. But we also, as HERS raters, have to be kind of aware of, we don't want to try to place blame on anybody. So this would be more used as a tool just to give them information. You know, we're not out there to tell them what to do. We just can report information and say, hey, you know, I noticed your attic pressure was high. And that could be because a vent is blocked. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean they need to add more venting. That means venting needs to be looked at.
Suggest. Yeah.
Yes, and even though the house needs to be done at final, let's say they forgot to put weather stripping on the garage door, and you go, oh, I detected that it's a little bit leaky there, you can still do this test. Or even if they forgot to mount a small window there on that door, for example, that arched window, let's say that was open, you can actually still do the whole house fan, because you're not going to touch that, and that is part of the windows that are open to get the house to 10 pascals. As long as you don't touch the adjustable one once you set it, that's a second window, and you're just adding to the opening. So that includes leaks to the can lights, weather stripping in the home, those kinds of things, because we've tested very leaky homes, and the way the science panned out is like, it doesn't matter if the house is leaking, that's just part of another window set that's open when you're setting the windows to 10, and it's an immovable window.
Yeah, so if there's no infiltration test on the home and you're in there before carpet, that's fine. They haven't put up the hood vent yet, that's fine. That just becomes a part of the house. That opening is just gonna be, you're just gonna have to not open up the windows as much as you would if everything was installed.
So the grill won't affect not having the grill won't affect the heat?
you'll
It
need to
has
have
to
a
be
grill.
tested with the grill, and
Yeah.
our lab values are with the grill, the duct, vent.
Is that what you meant? Because
No, the hood vent, the range hood vent,
I range.
you know, typically when we're talking about blower door, that's one of the red flags. We walk into a house, especially if it's not carpeted, we're probably there too early in the HERS process. For this test, if you don't have to do a blower door test, you don't necessarily need those things. So that's just an FYI for you guys. You don't need to go in and if the range hood isn't installed yet.
Yeah, we've
You
seen a
can
lot
still
of
do the
issues.
test and it'll be the same. It just turns into a hole in the house, and which equates to the window. I mean, when you're opening up the window, you're introducing a hole in the house.
There's other diagnostic stuff for the whole house fans, but they wouldn't call you guys, they would call us. Like when the wind blows and the dampers are flapping, they wouldn't call you, they'd say, hey, is your product defective, and we handle that, and we go out. And we have other diagnostic procedures. We don't need to go over those with you guys. You guys just need to know what you need to know about the Hurst test and be educated. So when the super says, why do you think it's failing? Go, well, I tested the attic pressure in the attic and there's 50 pascals, they don't have an venting problem. You can call Quiet Cool to confirm, and you can call us or the installer. It's not your job to do that, but if you guys offer that, I don't know if you guys offer, this is why you failed QII to the superintendent services.
This might be why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be why.
I noticed.
Yes. Yeah, I noticed this, that's a good one, because we don't wanna point fingers and we don't know if it's the venting, but if you got 50 pascals in an attic, I'm 95% sure that it's the venting. It could be that the venting was even blocked, you know, we've even seen the, the bird hole vents that they have to blow with QI and they have to have cardboard baffling there. We've seen some of those where you run the whole house fan in, since it didn't have enough venting, it sucked all the cardboard to cover all the bird hole vents and it made it even worse. So the problem of not having enough venting, this is moving a lot of air flow, so you just be advised that we are capable of doing things like that. And I don't know if you've seen it yet in your installations, but we do have at least an 18-inch height recommendation for the fan above blown-in insulation, because we'll create a cavity once you run the whole house fan and do the Hurst test. So all of your previous homes that you were doing QAI had no Hurst test for whole house fan, so nobody ever ran it. Now they're going to be running it. They might be pre-testing it. You guys might have a contractor, maybe Valara is going to do the 100% testing and you guys sample. I don't know if that's going to happen yet, but we do have people who are installers that are asking us for this. We've got 8 mechanical installers that have already bought one of these, so they might be offering you guys the capability. 2020, Air Plus, True Air down south, Laura, Blue Mountain. So, in the event that they're sampling and doing that kind of stuff, they need to make sure that that fan is with 18 inches so that they don't mess up your QI and blow a crater in there. So what we advise is to either put 3 rows of bats there, or you do the blown in and you cover it with cardboard, but that's going to compress the insulation unless it's very shallow insulation. But if it's R39 blow in that's 16, 18 inches deep, you don't want to put cardboard and compress that down. So we recommend just taking bats and putting it there. And the fan should be tilted up 5 degrees. That's all it needs. If you're 12 inches away from the insulation and you're pushing 5 degrees up, that fan will not create a crater in the insulation. So be advised that's also, if that issue pops up, that they were self-testing and they messed up the insulation, that's got to be fixed. You're going to fail them on QII and tell them that, hey, that fan needs to be adjusted 5 degrees up so it doesn't disturb the insulation. I can't pass QII on that. What was that?
I already did that. They
Oh.
tested the fan.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I don't think they even turn it on.
Yeah, it's not a requirement for QII, but like I said, if they start testing and pre-testing for you guys to do the certified third-party HERT testing, and let's say Valara is doing 100% testing, that fan will be running and it will blow a crater and fail QII. And they'll know. They'll know, they'll see that. They installed it and they're wiring it and they're doing the grills and the switches, so we've let everybody know that the installation, it's now gonna get inspected, just like the
How is this working for attic option B? Because you can't have it pointed at the insulation,
blowing in on the,
not blown, just that.
oh, you can be pointed towards bat, it won't blow a bat out.
Yeah, but if it gets underneath there, it will. You're talking a lot of CFL.
Yeah, disperse it fast. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as you're greater than 4 or 5 feet away from, you're talking about a tucked-in bat underneath the roof deck, right? Yeah, we wouldn't blow that out.
They're most likely gonna have to strap that in a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
they do, but it's, over time, is it gonna?
There may be that 3 and 12 pitch house.
It shouldn't be
that's-
pointed at that anyway, shouldn't it be
Should
pointed into the open
Yeah,
air?
it should be pointed to the highest open air spot, but sometimes, with these small attics, like you said, a 3 and 12 pitch roof, we're pointing right at something.
Yeah. And that's another thing, I don't know if you mentioned that in the troubleshooting, is with the bent ducts, is something directly blocking the exhaust of our fan will affect the performance of the fan.
Yeah, if our fan is pointed right at the HVAC system or an attic, we want to stay at least 36, 48 inches away from this. We don't want to be pointing at anything. especially straight into the furnace wall or something like that, yeah, that would be ridiculous.
Turn
Tell them
right
that they
in
need to
front of
point
it or
that
something
other
like
way.
that.
So, it's an airflow device, you guys are familiar with how airflow works, so all the standard practices with HVAC applies. It's an 18-inch duct, you want a gentle 18-degree inside radius on the bend. If it's a 16-inch duct, you want a 16-degree bend, just like HVAC. You don't want to take a 20-inch duct and then bend it right at the collar. Even though we've padded for that, it's bad. It's not a best practice. So if you see that in the field, if they can avoid that, you want them to have a gentle bend. We tried to have you guys do additional inspections with the CEC. We wanted a visual inspection to be part of it, where that if you guys go up into the attic and it doesn't have enough venting, but the amount of time it would take your raters to do it, we computed it ourselves to compute the math for bird hole vents, doing 2 pi r squared for 3-inch bird hole vents times 72 bird holes in 4 attic spaces and 13 O'Hagans. That's a lot of math that you guys would be sitting there playing around with calculators and geometry and trapezoids and circle formulas, and everybody just kind of concluded we don't want raters having to compute the venting. It would be 30 to 60 minutes worth of just math and computing and measuring. So you guys are not measuring venting. We did want to have a visual inspection, but that also didn't make any sense because we're the only company that has a duct. Well, there's a few companies that have ducts now, but we're the only ones that are really concerned with that. So that's why we're talking to you about that and teaching you that our fans need a nice gentle bend if you can. They will pass with a tight 92. But if it is failing and you see a tight 90, say, hey, if they have room, say right, raise that up and do a gentle bend. He's actually been testing and running the blower door, and I was in the attic, and I took the strap and I pulled the strap on our duct to release the duct bend, and then I just screwed it in, and you immediately saw the CFM jump by 200. So the duct makes a big difference, and it can be anywhere from 1 to 400 CFM if that motor's mounted too low. You want a nice gentle bend. So, any other questions about the diagnosing and whole house fan suggestions?
And I'll make sure you guys have all my contact information, Andy's contact information.